Good day, everyone. We are going to talk about database design and management. And in this class today, we are going to introduce database. And our objective for today's session is that we are going to define what database is, the type of data we are going to store in a database management systems, types of a databases, structure of a data, file systems, database systems, and database design. So that at the end of the day, our viewers out there will be able to say all these objectives we have outlined at the beginning of this class. And what is database? These database are specialized structures that allows computer-based systems in order to store, manage, manipulate, and retrieve information or data being stored in the database. In the other way, it's an electronically stored of a data, retrieval of a data, and manipulate of a data in a given databases. This database is a shared integrated computer structure that are stored as collection of of end user data and what we call metadata. So in essence, what we are saying, we have two types of data in a database. One, or the data in a database that is going to be stored. One, we have end user database or end user data, and the second one is called metadata. Are we together? Metadata and end user data. In end user data, we are talking about the raw facts of a data that is stored in this database by the what? By the end user. The end user is that user that is not involved in designing the database. All he's going to be doing is just to what? To store the data into a given or into a particular database. This is what it means. Whatever a particular given end user is keyed into the system is called a what? End user data. Example of such end user data are what? Employee information, customers information, audit information, payroll system. All these information are going to be taken care of by the end user. But when we talk about the metadata, these are the data that is being handled out during what? During the design of the database, and these are what? Are data about the data themselves. It means it shows the what? The characteristics of the end user data and how they have been stored in the databases. This brings about the data types, it brings about the data size and what have you. When we talk about what? The data about a given data from the end user. For instance, when we talk about the employee information, this employee information, we know it entails maybe staff number, staff first name, surname, and what have you. So when we talk about the metadata, how do you go about achieving this staff number? What type of data do you define at the what at the time of design? When we talk about the first name, what types of data do you define this first name and so on and so forth? So it's talking about the characteristics of the data being entered by the end user, so that it enables the management of the end user data in the database to manage and handle the data effectively. So when we talk about what database management system, we are just on here. We are talking about the softwares that you can use to create, manipulate, and store in those databases. Meaning that it's a collection of programs that manages the databases, structure and control how these databases or how these data are going to be stored in the database and access and then being retrieved in a given databases. So we also have this database management system is a platform used by by the end user in order to access the database management system. But in essence, this thing there is a contradiction. It's not only the end user that uses the database management system, because most of the database management systems are handled by by the designers or by the database creators and what have you. So we also say that the database management system are written by the programmers using using something like Java, like C Sharp, like C++, and any other programming language, including Python and what have you. So this is what we have as the what database management system. We have example of this database management system, a lot of them. Famous of this, we have Microsoft Access, which we get it or we can access it from our usual Microsoft offices. We have Oracle, we have MySQL, we have something like the after MySQL, we have Workbench and what have you. We just have a lot of them, including the AWS. So here, when we talk about the database again, management system contains information about a particular enterprises. So it means if we are talking about a database management system of our organization, it can contain what all information about that very particular enterprises. There's collection of interrelated data, set of what program to access the data, and then the environment that is both convenient and efficient to be used by the end user. So these databases are databases that we have been talking about. What are the example of the databases or the system that uses databases in our day-to-day programming language? We have just a lot of them. Just think of anything. We think about reservation system or airline reservation system. I think about banking system. You think about sales terminal, no, yes, payroll, that is inventory. Let's say sales terminals. We have inventory terminals, and we have online retailers, manufacturing, human resources. All these sort of databases are there that you can be able to create using any database management system. You can be able to create. And then this database management can be very large. You can create a larger, a smaller, and what have you. And this touches all aspects of our life. That's when we talk about database management system. Take for instance, we have a university database example. That is as an example. We have application program like to add new students. That means if you are now dealing with your university information system, you create a database that will require you to add student info, students info, and you have this another one to say to add resources or add courses, anyone or courses. We have add facilitators or lecturers, then register courses and just what have you, or assign courses, assign role. So assign courses, assign role, assign subject, all these ones in the early days, the database application we have built directly on top of a file. You know, each and every staff will have his own file where you now pile up. This is assigned to this is assigned to this. Though even in these days, we work with semi-manual files where whatever we are doing on the system, we still put it inside file or a paper. So the same thing when we talked about this online university management system, you can be able to do all these things on a system without the use of a proper file, that is without the use of manual base. So what are the advantages of this database management system? It helps you to manage interactions between the end user and the databases. I, as the end user, I can be able to interact between myself and the system effectively without any hitches, and it also helps us to hide the complexities of the database internal structure from the end user. So anything that the programmer programmed at the back end, he can be able to hide the complexities such that the end user will not be able to see the complexity of this. Sorry, will not be able to see these very complexities. So it also enables data in the databases to be shared amongst or by the multiple users of the databases. It also helps each user. That means each user can be able to have their own user view specific to their needs. So we are using the same system as in the university management system I just mentioned or give example with it. I will be able to use it, have my own view separate. Another person will be able to use it and have its own separate. You, a student, you're using the same portal that I'm using, but you're having your own separate view as what? As a student. I'm having my own as what? As a lecturer. So this how what? It's one of the advantages of database management system. It also provide an improved data security in our database management system, where you can what back up the system online, stores everything online. Even if there is a fire outbreak, your files and everything will be safe. So this let's look at the role of this database management system. If we look at it here, we it helps us to create and manage or manipulate the databases where we have, if we to say we have database here. So this database is going to be created by what we call database management system. So you can what get it from here, and this database can also send information from this database to a database management system for what for manipulation. That means this is used to create what to create process administrative way, administrative way of creating process. That is our, this is going in and coming back. So here, when if we are talking about what we are going to be dealing here, we are going to be dealing with MySQL, not NoSQL, please. That's the database with physical structure or relational databases. Here we have what we call SQL. So this SQL is the one that is maintaining between the transmission between this and the end user. So we have the end user here, end user, and at this very place of SQL, this is where metadata is. Metadata is going to take place. This is just a one movement. So this, assuming this is what? It's someone that is sitting here in order to what? To use this database from this end. So here, we also have what we call client and server. Client and server, and this is being what is called applications over corporate network. These are the applications that you can create over what over corporate network. We can also have applications on web server. This we can also have applications on web server, and this is something like the e-commerce application, school online application, and what have you. So we also have what we call a web portal with reporting application. We have web portal with reporting applications. So then the next one, we might have something like the XML, that's extensible markup language web services application, XML applications. So all these can be what interrelated with these clients. Are we together? So it can also be related directly to this very gentle SQL. It can be moving back and front, back and forth. So this is what this is the simple skeptical explanation of our or the role of our database management system, where it used to create administratively a way of creating databases on a on a particular system. I hope you are following this explanation, please. So the next one we are going to look at here, we look at the advantages, we look at the roles, let's look at the functions of this database. Then one of the functions of this database is it allows us to create what we call this data dictionary. So whenever you want to create a database, try as much as possible to create what we call data dictionary. This data dictionary is the one that contains all it takes on your databases. Like you can have it like a serial number, like the description or field name or text name or just name. You have description, something like that. Then you have what we call data type. Data type. You also have data size, so not data structure, please. Data size. So here, assuming in serial number one, we have what we call first name, Description of this FN is called first name. First name. That's the description. And you can wait further to explain this. And the data type is going to be what? Varchar or virtual. So the data size here might contain 50 length or 25 length. Anyone, just be specific. So this is how you can go about creating this data dictionary at this level. So we also have data storage management. This data storage management, how well this your data is going to be stored in the database? Is it going to be having issues when retrieving or doesn't? We have data transformation and presentation. After you store this, if you're coming for retrieval, is it the same information you're retrieving or different information? Data security and management, database management system help you to secure your data and then manage it well. We also have multi-user access control. That is, multiple users can be able to access the same database concurrently at the same time. We also have the ability, or one of the functions of the database management is the backup and recovery management. So any database you have, if it doesn't have or it doesn't support a backup and recovery, so such database is not a good database. When we talk about data integrity, how well the information you keyed into the database is not altered. So we also have these types of database. Remember, in the first introduction, what we did is there were type of data stored where we have end user data, and then and we have also what metadata. You remember? So here when we talk about the what types of the databases. When we talk about the database type of the database, we talk about the database classification based on their use. How do you use database? You use database with as a single user. That means you are the only person that is using the database you are about to create. If so, then it means that database is called single user database. Many people will be able to use the system. If so, then that such database is going to be what? Multi-user databases. But if this database is going to be only on a single system and it's not movable, that's many systems will not be able to connect on that system, is called what? Desktop database. We also have a work group database that is with on a specific number of what? On people or on a connection. That's only 5 group of people that is going to use for the databases. So such database is going to be called what? Work group databases. Are we together? We are talking about the types of databases here. We said we have 4: single user database, multi-user databases, desktop databases, and work group databases. So also we have this database classification. You see, the first one we have database classification based on the numbers of the users. Then this one we have what? Database classification based on the location of data. So where is the data going to be housed? Is it centralized or decentralized or distributed? Sorry, it's the same thing as decentralized though. So when we said about what? The centralized database, it means the database is going to be in a specific location and everybody will be able to access it. Whenever it moves, it's not going to be what? Going to be accessed again. So that's a certain number of group of people or users will be able to access it at the same location. But when we say about distributed databases, it means these databases can be shared amongst the users where they can be able to access the database concurrently without meeting a central database. And most of the time, this thing deals with all website that deals with mirror servers. We have such database with mirror servers. Example, I know this NYSC portal where they have mirror servers. As you can see, if you are trying to move into the portal, sometimes it will give you 1, sometimes 2, sometimes 3. So it depends on the server you are moving to. So these types of we also have classifications of a database based on the what? Based on the types of data that is going to be stored in the databases. When we have general purpose database and we have discipline database. This means in essence that this one database will be what? For any general purpose database, and the other will be for like a specific discipline. This is meant only for education. This is meant general. So just like our software, we have general purpose and specific softwares. So we also have classification of data based on how data are intended to be used. How do you intend to use your data bases? That's what we are saying here. One, we have what we call OLTP. that is operational database or online transactional processing database. Online transactional processing databases. Most of these databases are made online for transactional purpose only. We also have analytical databases. This include the data warehouse and online analytical processes, which is called OLAP. So, meaning here, in essence, you can use these databases for analytical purposes only. It means like the cookies we are using. Once you click on the cookies, it's what saving your information somewhere in order to address the number of visitors that visit that particular website or so. So, and maybe your behavioral purchase behavior. What site and site do you usually visit? What do you usually search online? So all these our data are used for what? Online analytical processes or what? Data warehouse. I hope you are following this class, please. So we also have what we call structure of the database. If we said structure of a something, what do we mean? We mean the outfit of a particular things that we are talking at a particular time. So what is your structure? How do you look like? So that's what we are saying here. Databases can be classified based on the degree of which the data is structured. How does this data is structured? That's how these databases can be classified. One, we have unstructured databases. We have structured databases. We have what we call semi-structured databases or data. When we talk about XML earlier, we talk about extensible markup languages, and this database is it's for the storage and management of a semi-structured XML data, because it's a tree-like data that you can use in storing your data. So in the beginning of this class, we talk about the examples of this database management system. We said we have MS Access, we have AWS, we have Oracles, we have MySQL, we also have OpenOffice, we have IBM database too, and then we have a lot of more. You can just search more of this database management system example. Also, when we talk about the file system, this file system in the databases, it evolved from the file that is a manual to computerized system. The manual way of how you operate or how you was operating or you were operating at present in your office to computerized way of dealing with data, meaning that you can be able to use to store and process data on the past, present, and then the future, owing to the limitation of the file system. How well is this file system is being limited? The database system was created. So in every system that you are going to be created, it means there must be a limitation. Where were you before? Where that system was? Then why do you need to migrate it to what? Automated. So some of the limitations, if we are dealing when we are dealing with the manual way, is what? Prolonged development time. That is too much programming. Two, slow response to report requests. Whenever we want to ask for a report, how many students defaulted, how many students graduated, how many students repeated, and so on and so forth. With system, with just a click, you can get that. But if you are talking about the manual, it means it will take a lot of our time for us to be able to prepare this reporting. Difficult system administration, how you manage your your manual file is always difficult. We have poor data security. So how you secure those data is always a problem. And whenever you have hazard, those program or those data tend to disappear or be harmed if you are dealing with manual way. We have structured dependencies. Whenever you are working with manual base, they are always depending on on the file base. So whenever you have issue, it will not be an issue. So we also have data redundancy. So in manual file system, most of our data are being kept redundant, but here they are not redundant. So what are the drawbacks of using this files system in order to store our data? One, data redundancy and inconsistency. Multiple file formats, duplications. We have multiple file formats. Each and every file will have a format. We have duplications of information in different files. You can find a student having two files with the same information. So difficult in accessing data. Whenever you want to access data of student A, you need to move throughout the system if not you're lucky. So we have data isolation. Some of the data are being isolated if you're dealing with multiple files and formats, and the integrity problems. So most of the integrity constraint here, example, the account balance always need to be what? Greater than 1, than 0, become buried in programming code rather than being what? Being stated explicitly, how to add a new constraint or charge existing one, or to change the existing one. So these are what some of the drawback of our database management system. And we also have automaticity. Here is called the failure. The failures may leave database in an inconsistent state. We also have concurrent access by multiple users. So if you are going to access the system concurrently, then the performance is going to be slow. We have also security problem that's hard to provide access to some but all issues. So we also have what we call characteristics of a database management system. And if you remember, traditionally, the data was organized in file system, right? So, and the database management system was a new concept then, if we are talking about before. So, and all research was done in order to make it overcome, to make it easy. So the differences, the deficiencies we have in the traditional way of handling our databases style of data management. So a modern database management system has the following characteristics. If we look at it, one, we have a real world entity, where in a modern database management system, it's more realistic and uses real world entities in order to design our architectures and uses the behaviors and attributes too. So, for example, when we talk about the school management or the university management we just mentioned before, may our students as an entity, and the age which is belong to students as what? As an attribute. We are going to talk on this thing much if we are dealing with our entity relationship model or entity relationship diagram. We also have relational based tables where database management system allows entities and relations amongst these tables. So everything you're designing in databases, you must create tables. These tables, the relations amongst them, give a database management system an edge over a traditional system of operation. We also have isolation of data and application. A database system is entirely different than its data. I hope you're getting me. The data we have in the database is entirely different. So a database is an active entity of itself, where the data is said to what? To be passive, on which the database worked and organized database management system is also called or stored in what? In a metadata form by what? By the programmer. We also have less redundancy, where database management system we know follows a specific rules in order to normalize our databases or to normalize our tables, which also reduce redundancy. We also have data consistency. We have query language. We have ACID properties. The ACID properties here is called atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability. The meaning of ACID, I repeat, atomicity. We have consistency, we have isolation, and durability. That is ACID. These concepts are applied on transactions which manipulate data in a database. The ACID properties always help the database in order to stay healthy and perform multiple transactions whenever you are dealing with this asset. It's very, very flexible. And one of the characteristics also, we have multiple users and concurrent access. Multiple users can be able to use databases and can have access, can access a single databases at a time. Then we have also multiple view. Multiple users can view the same thing at the same time. Security, of course, we cannot leave this one behind. And then we have what we call in the database, we have database user. This a typical database management system has users with different right and permission who uses it for different purposes. That is why in an organization, each and every user has its own privileges. If you can see here, like we have this as a databases. So this as what? As a management database management system. We can have our end user here. We can have our client here or the designer. We have the designers here and we have the administrators here. Administrators are here, designers are here, end users are here. If this one now, if you design this system, if you are not leasing it full to the what? To your client, it means you are going to maintain a privilege of a designer in this system. So that the functions you perform here, both end user and administrator cannot be able to what? Have access to this privilege. The same thing, the privilege this administrator will not have this because this designer can be able to add, assuming these administrators and both the end user. The administrator can be able to add end user but cannot add designer. The administrator can delete end user but not this. Can be able to deactivate end user but not designer. Can be able to assign a role to end user but not designer. But designer can be able to assign role to what? Both the administrator and the end user. While the end user is the one that is what? Using the system and taking in data into the system. I hope this is also very clear in our explanation. So we also have database system, and this system we said is a collection of components that allows what? Allows the collection, storage, management, and then the data within the database. Just like the earlier explanation we did when we are entering the class. We say it's an electronically collections of the data, manipulation of the data, and retrieval of the data. These database systems components are what? The hardwares, the softwares, and people, procedures, and data. The hardware where you are going to use install the database. The software is the database management system. The procedures, the processes in which you develop the data and how they can be able to operate, and the data, the types of data that you can be able to store in the databases. So that's the simple explanation of this. So when we talk about this component, you can have it something like this. That's the structure of the component of a database. We have a software. This software is always under what? It is always under hardware. Are you together? So that is this. So we also have what we call user here or end user. Are we together? So you remember there we said we have we have data, we have procedures, we have how we organize data, we have the data itself, and then we have what we call database access language. Here we can have this as what? Database what? Access language. DBS access language. Here we can have data. Each data is coming to this and then move up, and this we have the procedures in which you followed to achieve your database design. So in all, you can put this as what? As data component of the database management system. So this is this again. Any issue regarding this database management system, you can don't hesitate to drop any observation, any comment, or any queries on our comment section, please. So the next things we have here is what after the component of the databases, we have basic database terminologies. In basic database terminologies, we have the data, we have fields, we have records, we have files. This is very, very paramount in our database design. We have data, that's one. We have fields, we have record, we have tables, and we have file. We have files. So we are going to look at this from this angle. When we talk about the data, we are talking about the raw facts. We are talking about the raw, when we talk about data, we are talking about the raw facts such that student name, age, date of birth, and the rest. That's what we are talking about here. In general, students info. When we talk about fields, we are talking about the place that we use to store in those data. Are we together? The field or the place in which we are going to store these data here. But when we talk about the record, we are talking about the logically connection or the logical connections that we set in this field describing the entity. Are we together? Just look at it here. We have serial number, we have names, we have matric number and the rest. This is one. This is a field. Are we together? This is a data. This is what? Field. This is data. Are you together? So we have, let's assume this is Bamanga, matric number, let's assume 001. So the whole of this place, remember I said this is a data. This, the column is what is a field. The row now is the what? Is the record. The row is the record of a particular given entity, either record under column under serial number one or called Bamanga's record. The field is what? Is the column being termed with a serial number, names, and matric number. Are you together? Then whatever you place in here is the data. Is the data. This is the data. This is the data. This is the data. Are we together? So if we talk about that's the record, the entire of this is a record, and also a table comprises one or two records of a given data, and our file is the what? Is the combinations of a multiple tables we have in the databases. So the database itself is the what? The files or the collections of a related record. So we have this record, we have this record, we have this record, you put them together, you make them tables, you put them together, it becomes a file. Are we okay with these basic terminologies? Because they are very, very important in what? In database system. So the next one we are going to look at, we have what we call database life cycle. In a database life cycle, that's the process in which you follow it in order to create database. Let's work in this database development life cycle, which we call it database development life cycle. And this is that the first thing you are going to have in this database development life cycle is the establishment requirement. Establishment requirement. So in this very page, you are going to specify what do you need to what? Do you require for the development of this database? Then you come up with what? With the statement requirement. With the statement requirement. It means you make your mind that this requirement is what you're going to work with or you are going to use during this phase. After this, you are going to conduct an analysis. You are going to conduct an analysis as the database designer, and during this analysis, after you make it, you are going to come up with what we have as system specification. System specification. So that's what do you specify, or what are your system specifications? What do you need to build this system with it, and what this system is going to perform? What role is it going to perform? What role is it going to conduct? What is the output of the system if you've now developed it at this phase? So after you've conduct this, we have what we call design. You have a design process. During this design, you have what we call design documentation. After you've designed it, you come up with the documentation. Design documentation. So you've designed the system, you are going to document it. After you document, you are going to implement this. We have implementation. implementation. So at these implementations, you are going to have what we call initial system. That means you are implementing either module by module or complete at a whole. You are going to have what we call initial system. So this initial system is what you are having now. You did not make final. You did not finalize on this very particular system. You can come back this way in order to have your testing process. Now you are going to test this initial system process by process or module by module or whole by whole. At the end of the day, you are going to have the release of the what of the entire work. Now released or deployment. Are we together? You are going to release this this very process. After you release it, you have what we call maintenance. So you have what we call maintenance. So during this maintenance, this is a process. During this maintenance, you are going to have a loop. This maintenance is in between this and this. So this is going to take place here. Whenever you are releasing, you are going to have a maintenance, provided you are here. So at this point in time, if you have anything, you will be going through this. So, but at this pace, that's the implementation. If you see it like you need anything from requirement, you can loop and go back to what? You can loop and go back to your established statement. Likewise, if you are at the what? At the release, that is your final client need to have some changes. They can also request you to make adjustment. But this adjustment here in some scholars, like you're going back to this, but based on the studies, from here, you can move to any phase of this. Are we together? You can move to any phase of this. From this release, you can go back to what? Requirements, you can go back to statement, you can go back to analysis, you can go back to design, you can go back to the implementation phases, and you can go back to follow all these processes. So this is what we have on the what? On the introductions of database management or database development life cycle for you. So if you have anything that you want to or you want us to clarify for you, don't forget to drop your suggestion queries in our suggestions comment section, please. And we also have the strategies. We are going to conclude this class with the strategies we have in database designing. We have strategies like top-down design, we have bottom-up design, we have centralized design, we have decentralized design. So thank you for being with me these sessions and always be part of our Soft Skills Academy. Lots is going to be discussed on this very channel. And don't forget, if you like this class, please give us a thumb and share our videos. Thank you.